Hi, this is Chelle of Chelle's Creations. In this video I want to show you how you can use the accordion flowers and the actions that go along with them. Okay, first up, what comes in the kit or in the collection? It is CU Chelle's Accordion Flowers, and in it there are 3 PSD files. They are the lace ready to pattern, the petals ready to pattern, and the flower ready to pattern. The one that's just plain flat edges I called flower. The one that has the little scalloped edges I called petals, and the one that has little bumps out of the flowered edges I called lace. And so they look similar when you can see, if you can see them, but in fact the actions that go with them get a different result each time. You also have a ping of each one of them so that you can just add your own pattern or color or however you want to add it. Also important to note, this action works really well if you are using a pattern that is somewhat random. If you're using a stripe, I'll show you a trick as we do this for how to do that. Okay, and then you also have the actions file in there and my terms of use. Okay, so first up we need to install the actions. The easiest way to install the actions, if you have a version of Photoshop that allows it, is just to right click on it and open it with whichever version of Photoshop or Photoshop Elements you are using, and that will auto install the actions. If you're using Elements, you may have to Google search your version of Elements and your operating system to find out how to get it opened in the right place if that doesn't work. Every operating system and every version of Photoshop and Photoshop Elements have slightly different instructions for where to put those actions, but that's one quick and easy way to install them if you can. Okay, and there's one folder of actions, and within that there are 3 actions. One for the flower, one for the petals, and one for the lace. Alright, let's go back and open those up. Let's open the lace, petals, and flower. Okay, and the important thing here is that you need to get a patterned paper and you need to put it on correctly. So let's open up a patterned paper. Okay, so I have a couple of floral patterns and I have a couple of plaid patterns so that I can show you how this works. The first thing I want to do is show you what to do if you have a stripe or a plaid that is on the directly up and down, left and right, that appears like this, or even a stripe also. If you have one that's on the diagonal, it will work with the action, but this one, there's a quicker way to do it. Up here under Filter, let's see, let's go down to Distort to Polar Coordinates. Make sure that your box here of rectangular to polar is checked, and then click on OK, and it will do this with your paper, but that's okay. We can go right into this one that's ready to be patterned, and you need to put it right above layer 0. So let's go ahead and drag that in. Right there. That is the quickest way. If your plaid is on the square, the quickest way to add it is to go ahead and do that. But if you have something else, then you try to make it work, it won't, and that's what this action is for. You will notice that there is a layer on top that says Add Pattern Paper above this layer and name it Pattern, all lowercase. And so we're going to go ahead and go back to one of our patterns. Let's go over here with this floral. Command A to select all, Command C to copy. Now you can drag it on, you can copy it and paste it, whatever you want to do. I'm just going to drag it and paste it, and this needs to be called Pattern, all lowercase. Now if I had dragged it on, let's drag one on so that you can see. It would have appeared on a layer above right here, and you could still do the same thing. Name that one Pattern, and that will work. You need 1, not 2, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of one of them. Okay, so you need to have it say Pattern, and you can leave that other layer there that says add one above this. That won't make any difference. Then you need to make sure you run the right action. This is just the regular flower, so I'm going to run the regular flower action and hit go. The first thing it'll do is it'll tell you exactly what we just talked about. Add your 12 by 12 pattern paper to the top of the layer stack, rename the layer Pattern, all lowercase, and then run the action. So let's go ahead and hit continue. First thing it does is chops it up in little pieces, and then it goes ahead and applies those little pieces, morphing them to all of the crevices in the flower. And just by nature of the fact of how I wrote the action, it turns out you don't get to see it till the very end instead of being able to watch it as it goes. It made it work much more quickly to do it this way. Depending on your program will depend on how long that takes, and then it will tell you when it's finished, and you can go ahead and hit continue. Now, that other part of the instructions it said was to tweak anything that was necessary. You'll notice that right up here, just off of center, this is where the seam is as it goes around, because when you fold an actual pattern piece of paper and make an accordion out of it, at some point you have a seam. That's going to be the seam right there. So that one is not one you need to worry about, but you can go ahead and look at any of these other places and see if there's any spots that you need to fix or tweak or do anything with. You also can adjust the linear light layer and the soft light layer depending on the color of paper that you have. You can turn the opacity of those up and down to make it look right, and then you can go ahead and crop and save your flower. Okay, so that's how it works for the regular flower. It works the same way if you're going to do the petals. Let's go ahead and do that one. Let's put this one on the petals. So let's go ahead and drag it onto that one. If you hold down your shift key, it will land perfectly in the center. Okay, it's on the top of the stack, and we need it to be right above this add pattern paper above this layer. So let's bring it right there, add it above that layer and name it pattern. Okay, and then we're ready to go. Just make sure you run the right action. This one is petals. So let's go ahead and choose the one that says petals in capital letters there and hit run. Same thing, it will also come up with a similar warning that says add your 12 by 12 pattern paper just above the add pattern paper above here layer. Rename the layer pattern, all lowercase, and then run the action. So if you were not prepared to do that, you'd want to go ahead and hit stop, fix it, and then run the action. Here we go. Let's hit continue. Once again, the time it takes to run this action will depend on your computer's capabilities and other things that you might have running. It does have to, I think there's 20 pieces along there that it has to chop up and tweak each one so that they match perfectly. And there we go. Let's zoom in and see if there's any here. Now remember, this one right here is the seam, so they will not match up right there, just off, but it should match up everywhere else all the way along pretty closely. If there's something that you need to tweak, let's look at this one right here. It looks like right here, this one didn't quite fold right, just right there. So I would just go in, if there's something you want to tweak, go right above all of these little triangles, make a new layer. And right there, I would just go in and just going to smooth things out. Let's go in and choose that right there. And I'm just going to clone a little bit more of it right in there. Oh, it's not on that layer, so I need to click current and below. There we go. And now we could click right there and add just a little bit right there. And if you wanted to take a little bit right here, same thing, let's go back to the clone stamp and put a tiny bit in right there. That's what you would do. So that's what it means by tweak. If there's any places that don't quite match perfectly, you might have to tweak them. I can't predict what does and doesn't match. I've tried it on dozens of different papers, and sometimes it works perfectly and sometimes there's a little spot here and there that are just a little bit off. Okay, let's do the last one. Okay, we've already done this paper. We've already done this paper. Let's go ahead and do the plaid one on this last one. Now remember, this plaid is on a diagonal, and so it works like any other pattern paper. And this time we want to put it on the lace one. So let's go ahead and drag it right up there onto the lace. Hold down shift and it'll end up right there. Same thing, you need to put it right above that marker layer, rename it pattern, then run the correct action. This time we want the lace one. We'll go ahead and hit play. And I'll just let you watch how it works here. Same instructions. And there we go. And that is how you use these actions to make your own accordion flowers with your favorite papers. If you have any questions, you can reach me at shells.creations1@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.